This is wrestling's greatest moments.
Hey now, wrestling fans! It's time for another episode of Wrestling's Greatest Moments. Afa and Sika were just one of many unforgettable teams from the 1970s and 1980s, but nevertheless they found a way to stand out as something different. Sit back as Wrestling's Greatest Moments presents Born to be Wild, the Wild Samoans Story. Before we get started though, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single video. Real-life brothers Afa and Sika were born in Samoa. The family later relocated to San Francisco, California, with Afa joining the Marines at age 17. From there, he began training for the Squared Circle, with High Chief Peter Maivia and Rocky Johnson helping him learn the ropes. Kurt Von Steiger also trained Afa, as did Stu Hart when Afa came to Hart's Calgary Stampede wrestling promotion. Afa wasted no time putting things into place. He persuaded his brother Sika to join him in Calgary. There, the two plowed through opponents, winning the promotion's tag team titles twice, the beginning of an illustrious career. Championship gold seemed to come easy wherever they went. The Wild Samoans, who also worked as the Islanders, spent much of the 1970s in different territories, often winning tag team gold and creating havoc wherever they went. Afa and Sika developed a brawling style that fit in with their depiction as savages, entertaining fans despite the limitations as to how many moves they could perform in the ring. Afa and Sika used basic strikes and more advanced moves such as their patented Samoan drop to get themselves over as human wrecking balls. Wherever they went, Afa and Sika left their mark, drawing fans to house shows and leaving them wanting more. The Samoans invade the WWF. Afa and Sika debuted in the WWF in 1979, with success coming quickly. The Samoans were paired with legendary heel manager Captain Lou Albano, the perfect man to manage them, as Lou Albano's antics weren't far removed from the Samoans' portrayal as savages who spoke little English and seemed like a remnant of the caveman era. Albano loved managing the Samoans and claims they were his favorite tag team to manage. Watching their promos together, you can see how much fun they had. As for their work in the ring, they were vicious type people. When I say vicious, I don't mean in personality, I mean inside of the ring. They really loved to get in there and battle. They'd whack each other. In fact, as brothers sometimes, they'd get in the ring and just start arguing and have a battle. In character, Albano played his usual conniving self, once boasting to Vince McMahon how he paid the Samoans in beads and shells and bought himself a Bentley while he bought them a Chevy with no air conditioning. Regardless, Afa and Sika followed Albano's orders, winning the WWF Tag Team Championship 3 times. The Samoans were dangerous opponents, defeating WWF Tag Team Champions Tito Santana and Ivan Putski in just over 7 minutes. The former champions failed to regain the titles, and tandems including Andre the Giant and Pat Patterson, as well as Ivan Putski and Pat Patterson, came up short against the Samoans as well. Finally, the Samoans met their match when they faced the all-star team of former WWF champion Pedro Morales and current WWF champion Bob Backlund at 1980 Showdown at Shea Supercard. There, the babyfaces defeated the Samoans in 2 straight falls in a 2 out of 3 falls match. However, the Samoans quickly regained the belts, as the WWF forced Morales and Backlund to vacate the titles, ruling a champion could only hold 1 belt at a time. This led to a tournament where Afa and Sika bested Tony Garea and Rene Goulet in the finals. Surprisingly, the Samoans only held the belts for about a month before dropping them to Rick Martel and Tony Garea. The Samoans head south. Afa and Sika left the WWF for campaigns in the South, winning championship gold in Mid-South Wrestling and Georgia Championship Wrestling. The Samoans battled teams that included Dick Murdoch and the Junkyard Dog, the Fabulous Freebirds Michael Hayes and Terry Gordy, Kerry Von Erich and Ted DiBiase, and Ole Anderson and Stan Hansen, to name a few. These various runs outside the WWF demonstrate how Afa and Sika could work anywhere, accustoming themselves to whatever style promotion they worked in and succeeding. The Samoan success in different territories helped solidify their legacy as one of wrestling's best teams. The Samoans returned to the WWF in 1982, reuniting with Captain Lou and going after the WWF Tag Team Champions, the Strongbos, Jay and Jules. In March 1983, Afa and Sika regained the titles, defending them against the Strongbos in an array of different combinations of the WWF's best. However, the Samoans held on to the championship for nearly the rest of the year, until they dropped them to the Soul Patrol, Rocky Johnson and Tony Atlas in a no disqualification match. A match they might have won had manager Captain Lou not mistakenly broke a wooden chair over Afa's noggin. Living the gimmick. Like any wrestlers from the kayfabe era, Afa and Sika lived their gimmick. In their case, they portrayed two savages who didn't speak much, if any, English. On one occasion, the Wild Samoans' refusal to break kayfabe led to trouble for Hulk Hogan. According to the Hulkster, he was traveling to the WWF with Afa and Sika when he pulled over to try and get a better idea of where he was headed. Hogan had recently purchased a handgun on the advice of wrestlers who warned him about unruly fans in New York. Unfortunately, the handgun was not registered, and when a state trooper pulled Hogan over, the pistol fell out of Hogan's glove box. Subsequently, Hogan and the Samoans found themselves in a serious situation. As Hogan recalls, "I turned to Afa and Sika and said, 'Help me out here, guys. Tell these state troopers that I just bought the gun and I didn't know a thing about this law they have here.'" Afa and Sika didn't say a word, so when the cops looked at Afa and Sika, they wouldn't talk. I begged them, but they wouldn't say a word. They were afraid they'd get in trouble with Vince. After calling Vince McMahon Sr., Gorilla Monsoon showed up and reportedly pulled some strings to get Hogan out of his jam. More than just a tag team. While Afa and Sika spent much of their careers as a tag team, both wrestlers also competed in singles matches. As Wrestling's Greatest Moments has discussed in previous videos, the WWF treated its tag team champions as formidable singles stars. Consequently, Afa and Sika were put into high-profile matches, including title matches against WWF champion Bob Backlund. In his memoir, Backlund, From All-American Boy to Professional Wrestling's World Champion, Bob Backlund discusses the vast differences between how Afa and Sika presented themselves to the fans and what they were really like. The fans were scared to death of these guys. You could see the fans shrink away when Afa and Sika would walk into an arena, or especially when one of them ended up out of the ring and out in the ringside area near the fans. But when you tied up with them in the ring, they were among the gentlest guys in the business. In addition, Afa and Sika were kind and warm-hearted people. No matter what was happening around them, they were always calm and relaxed and would do anything for you. Legitimate Samoans, they still had a lot of the worry-free island mindset. They were most interested in enjoying today and would worry about tomorrow. They traveled in a converted van with a door on the back that gave them access to a sleeping area. And they also kept a pet python in the back of the van that they would bring out on occasion when they wanted to get a laugh. The Wild Samoans stopped competing together regularly, with Afa working in the WWF in the 1980s, including an interesting team with Kamala, and Afa later managing the Head Shrinkers in the early 1990s. However, their contributions to the grappling game were only beginning, sharing their wisdom. Afa and Sika were important figures in the wrestling industry, inside and outside the ring. The two formed their own wrestling school, training future superstars that include Batista, Umaga, Billy Kidman, and Yokozuna. In addition, Afa trained actor Mickey Rourke when he prepared for his role in the film The Wrestler. The Wild Samoans were known for giving back to the community, whether it was where they lived or to their fellow wrestlers. Wrestler Kamala writes of how Afa and Sika helped him deal with the stress that he had after leaving the WWF. He and his Wild Samoan partner/brother Afa flew me down to the Samoan Islands to blow off steam. They took care of me like a relative, and I didn't have to worry about anything. Oh man, we had a great time in one of the most beautiful places in the world that I have ever seen. We still keep in touch to this very day. While the Wild Samoans are no longer with us, their impact on pro wrestling continues to this day, not only in their contributions to the sport, but their lasting legacy on today's superstars and the superstars of tomorrow. The Wild Samoans weren't the first team to adopt the act of animalistic brawlers, but they created an archetype that would be revisited for decades, with succeeding acts taking what worked for Afa and Sika and adjusting it for contemporary times. Acts including the Samoan SWAT team, Rikishi, Umaga, 3 Minute Warning, the Usos, and Roman Reigns, to name a few, all owe a debt to the Samoans for creating an ideal prototype and showing how a seemingly simplistic style can succeed. What do you think of Afa and Sika's incredible career as the Wild Samoans? Share your thoughts in the comment section, and let us know if there's any videos you'd like Wrestling's Greatest Moments to cover. In the meantime, subscribe to our channel, Follow us on X and Instagram and spread the good news about wrestling's greatest moments, the channel that celebrates the squared circle.